Okay, this is a reaction video. It's from Grogan London. Will American greed be its downfall? SA versus UK money attitudes compared. Well, don't know anything about this video, but in terms of money, I do have in my wallet currently $20 bill from the US and £10 note from England. I need to change this obviously to get it back, but I have a £10 note. I have America and I have British currency in my wallet as we speak. I kind of like the British note a little bit better because it's smaller and yeah, it's nice. It's nice small banknote. But let's see. Will American greed be its downfall? Well, again, I used to work for the bank. Let's see what she has to say about this.
I was walking through JFK Airport a few months ago, and I passed a girl wearing...
And please click like, share, and subscribe for me as well as for her. I would appreciate it, and I'm sure she would as well.
...a shirt that said, "Make money, not friends."
Now, that is not indicative of a lot of people in the United States, but yes, I can understand why she would do this video if somebody's wearing that shirt.
I wouldn't have stopped to think about it normally, this shirt with a funny saying, except it hit me that this was essentially the thesis statement of American life, and that actually it wasn't meant to be funny at all. Whether this girl had any friends or any money, I couldn't tell you, but it was a glaring example of American cultural attitudes towards money that struck me. And as a dual UK and US citizen, the stark contrast to the British attitude is fascinating. Side note, speaking of money, sort of, I've released a new episode of For the Love today, link in the description. In this episode, I visit a British couple who live on a narrowboat in order to try and simplify their life and finances and have a bit of an adventure. So if you want to see me attempt to drive a narrowboat down the UK canals with zero experience, check it out.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, that's they do have canals in Los Angeles, the Venice canals off of Venice Beach. I'm going to be going there on Wednesday to Los Angeles. We'll see how life goes on there.
Anyway, to be honest, a "Make Money, Not Friends" shirt is an example of the rotten side of American emphasis on money.
But again, I'm not so sure that that most Americans feel that way. I understand if somebody who has a shirt like that, why I understand what they're trying, what they're saying, but it's not indicative of what most Americans think.
Because on the flip side, on the healthier side, if you can say that, is, in my opinion, a country that places an exciting emphasis on entrepreneurship, on starting your own business, on seeing the success of your hard work. I can't sit here as somebody who is self-employed and is also an American citizen and say that I think American entrepreneurial spirit is all bad. Except, like we tend to do in America, we always take it one step too far. We can't just encourage entrepreneurship.
Again, I don't know what she's getting at here. I'm kind of curious to see what she's talking about, where we take it too far.
We need shirts about it. We need the Girl Scouts to sell cookies, or biscuits as they're called in the UK, that say things like, "I am a go-getter." And when we're in the airport, browsing the bookstore for our easy reading, we're first confronted, as I was in JFK, with the business and self-improvement section. You have to pass by Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Selling in a Crisis in order to get to the fiction. And so first, I want to explain some of the differences in cultural attitude towards money across the pond, and then use this to show how American attitudes towards money might be one of the country's biggest downfalls. First,
again, I'm not so sure about that. Like I said, I'm not sure that what she's saying is true to how Americans feel about it. But like I said, I'll give her her say. Let me see what she says about this.
Firstly, when it comes to talking about money, studies show that Brits are extremely uncomfortable with the topic. It's up there with religion on how much...
Yeah, the two things my father told me I should never discuss in public or is politics and religion. And I guess in terms of money, she's lacing that in with politics, I'm guessing. But we'll see. Like I said, you don't talk about politics and religion.
Culturally, it is not polite to ask or discuss. In American culture, it's not necessarily always this way. You're not going to open your checking account on the PowerPoint at work to show everyone your latest spendings, but questions like, what do you do for a living? I.e., how much money do you make, but I can't actually ask you that.
No, again, usually when they ask you what you do for a living, that's what they're asking. What do you do for a living? That's it. You know, it's not how much money you make and anything like that. It's what do you do for a living? I do this. Okay.
That are very, very common in America. Money is still seen as a personal matter, don't get me wrong, but the extent to which it is much different than in the UK. Americans are just more open about money in general. Then you have another fascinating difference in that studies have shown that the British, culturally and psychologically, tend to report experiencing more harmful effects when seeing someone else become wealthier, whereas Americans don't react the same. A great example of this can be found in British versus American soap operas. British soaps focus on the working class. It has been said because audiences at home want to see people that they can relate to and that seems more real. American audiences, on the other hand, want to see the rich, hunky doctors with millions of dollars living their rich life.
Well, soap operas really aren't that big in the United States anymore. I mean, if you're talking about daytime soaps, those are what they are. But if you're talking about nighttime, yeah, I guess they are someone like that, but not all the time. Like they were in the 70s. All in the Family was about a working class family. There were other TV shows like Roseanne was about a working class family, but those were comedies, and so to speak. But yeah, it's in American soap operas. Well, again, I guess she's right. I guess when I think about it, if you look about daytime soaps, they're generally about doctors or rich people or people who are well off.
And having tons of money and glitz and glamour. So the American soap operas reflect this. American audiences often have a reaction of, hey, that person's rich, whether real or fictional, that could be me someday. Because in America, money equals success. That's basically all there is to it. We do have a class system, but it isn't as rigid as the British class system, which is a topic for another video. But in America, class is most often defined by money. Class in the British system is far more complicated and not just based on income or wealth accumulated, but in...
You know, to be honest, now granted, I was only there for 4 days. I wasn't there for you know, and as much as I've watched British TV and things like that, I didn't see that much difference between America and Brits as far as money concerned. Now again, I could be wrong. I wasn't there. I'm not an expert on British by any stretch of the imagination. The only thing I in terms of money that I had to deal with was when I went to the Arsenal store. Okay, one thing which is you know, I got 3 Arsenal shirts that were £80 each, and you know, the one thing in the United States you have sales tax added on. In England you don't, which was nice, which was very, very nice, to be honest with you. But I really didn't notice that much of a difference between English people with money and American people with money. But again, like I said, I was only there for 4 days. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination.
In the US, money is success, and also money means that you're seen as a good person. And money in the US has been seen as success since the Puritan days. Puritans believed that God awarded wealth and subsequently power to the spiritual elite, and that even in general for the average population, material success was a sign of God's favor on you for being good. Now the Puritans also emphasized social responsibility and what they called stewardship to others, so the messaging has gotten a little bit lost over time, but it does go back to the early days of the Puritan settlers. And again, American attitudes towards money plays into how the rest of the world sees Americans flaunting their money or their purchases.
Again, like I said, that's something I'm not too sure about, but like I said, she's lived over there, I've lived over here. I don't know that Americans flaunt their money or flaunt their purchases that much. Maybe in Beverly Hills they do, maybe in New York City they do, but in Ohio we really don't. Now, again, like I said, I could be wrong. I don't know what she's getting at here, but and I'll eat my words if she's wrong. But like I said, I don't know. I don't know that we tend to flaunt ourselves with our money a great deal. But again, like I said, I could be wrong.
Brits tend to try and hide it, or not necessarily hide it, but be discreet about it. American consumers are often wanting to share with people about their new purchases. Look at the new car I just bought. Look at the new house I just bought and all the cool features. In a way, you're saying...
Well, in some extent, like, I just bought a new house. Would you like to come over and take a look at it? Okay? I just bought a new car. Would you like to take a look at it? That's really all it is. Okay, but she's not wrong, but she's not right. Maybe she's right. I don't know. Again, maybe in England, if you bought a new car, you just tell anybody about it, or you just, is that a new car? Yeah, it's a new car I bought. Okay, good. I don't know that we actually flaunt it, but maybe we do. I mean, I guess in Ohio we generally don't. Okay, like when I got this place here, I generally didn't call people or hey come over, but again. When my brother bought his house, he said, hey, you want to come over and take a look at it? So I did.
In the U.S., look at how successful I am, and therefore, look how good I am. And we have to remember... Again,
my brother, he didn't say, look how good I am, or anything like that. And when I bought it, I didn't say, look how good I am. I don't know where she's getting that part about it, but again, like I said, I don't know that anybody does like that in the United States. At least I haven't met anybody like that. Maybe she has.
As always, in the US, very few safety nets exist for those who don't have money. There's no national health care, there are fewer benefits, there is no unified social housing system. So in a way, money means more in America because it really is a matter of life or death. We know that money offers up opportunity to people.
Again, I've already discussed that, when she talked about in another video, which I got reamed on by you Brits, and I probably still am being reamed by you guys. But again, like I said, it's not completely accurate. It's not wrong, but it's not completely right either. But here nor there.
People from around the world. This is not just exclusive to America, but it's very pronounced in America. In the UK, if you need a surgery, those who have the money may decide to go private to skip the wait times, but you can still get your medically necessary surgery on the NHS for no cost. In the US, if you're poor or without healthcare or without money, it's not just the level of care or wait times that impact you, it's getting care at all. And this is where I think the American attitude towards money starts to show its darker side, and money worship tends to come into play. You can say a lot about the Brits, but one thing I'm pretty confident about culturally is that they don't worship money. You can see this in the...
And a lot of Americans don't worship money either. Again, a lot of people do, and I'm sure there are some Brits over there who do worship money, okay? But there are probably a lot more Americans that do worship money. I would agree with you on that, but not as many as you seem to think there are. Like I said, I don't worship money. My brother and sister and her husband don't worship money. No, I come from a family. Maybe we're different, okay? But we don't worship money. We just use it as we see fit.
The way money is talked about or not talked about, as it were, as well as in the work culture in the UK. Someone wearing a "Make Money, Not Friends" shirt in the UK would definitely be given the side eye. And in some ways, this can lead to what some people see as a lack of entrepreneurial spirit in the UK.
No, not necessarily. I don't think of that. I mean, you may not wear the shirt, but I don't think it's anything to do with that.
But on the other side of the pond, America really falls into the trap of the often repeated phrase, money is the root of all evil. Because money is power. Everywhere, but especially in America, and it means that culturally we start to worship business people or businesses altogether rather than the average person, which most of us are. The current president was made famous by being on a reality show about judging people's ability to make money, and
It was called The Apprentice, and it was people competing to see if they could be hired by him to work in his company, okay? And they were given certain tests. Now, I never really watched the show, but I understood what the show was about. And the show was basically about whether or not they were good enough to do the job that he was looking for them to do. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I won't disagree with what she's saying, what it was about, but again, I'm not so sure it's the whole picture. But again,
care how much evidence there is to the contrary or what the stats are on how much money is actually in his bank account. The point is that culturally he is seen as a business person, as someone who made money, as someone who is wealthy. And in the US, we often equate that with, that must mean you're hardworking, you're a good person, you're successful and powerful.
Doesn't necessarily mean all that. She's saying doesn't necessarily mean he's a good person. Okay, nobody's ever claimed Donald Trump is a good person. Okay, at least not that anybody that I've ever heard of. I mean, some people say they like him. Some people say he's hysterical. Again, I don't know the man. Never spoke to the man. Okay, but I don't necessarily think that people think about him as a quote unquote good person.
We often give positive traits to people with a lot of money because of that worship of money. In the UK, on the other hand, I suspect the response would be a bit more like, who do you think you are? In the UK, I expect the response would be something a little bit like, who do you think you are? I'm not impressed with your money, and the more you talk about it, the less I want to talk to you. Also, just look at the gold card immigration idea for $5 million that's currently being talked about in America. Fast track your way to US citizenship if you're rich. Now, there are similar routes to visas like this in other countries, but in America, it can't just be left listed as a line item on the immigration website. It needs to be the gold card. Gold meaning good, gold meaning wealthy, gold meaning if you have enough money, then you're probably okay. Skip the line, we want you here. Or think about the American lobbying system where companies pay money to influence political decisions.
Yeah, that's something I don't like, I don't care for, is the American lobby system, is where you basically, look, you have senators or representatives who get paid to support their company. And that's not what American democracy was meant to be. It was never meant to be that. But I agree with her wholeheartedly on this. The lobby system is horrible in this country and needs to be changed.
Decisions. The more money an industry has, the more they push their way ahead, and this is not only allowed in the US, but kind of encouraged. The country is sold to the highest bidder, and many Americans tend to think, well, fair enough, because people and companies with money must have done something right or had the right ideas to get.
Again, that's something I don't agree with her on. Okay, I'm not trying to pick on her. I don't think that people think, oh, because you're rich, you're good. Okay, that is not the case at all. Okay, I don't think Americans think like that. Okay, I don't equate somebody who's richer than me as being a good person or better than me. I don't equate that at all. Okay, and I think a lot of people don't agree with her on that either. But again, that's what she thinks. That's what she believes. That's what she's saying. Okay, I'm not gonna say completely disagree with her on it, but I'm not gonna completely agree with her either. Like I said, I'm not picking on her. I'm just reacting to what she's saying. I don't think people equate money as being a good person in the United States.
There. They deserve to be heard more. They earned it. The UK does have lobbying and pressure groups, but there are far more restrictions on political donations and regulations surrounding this side of politics, which means you can't simply buy your way into political decisions in the same way you can in the US, though I'm not saying money doesn't also corrupt in the British government. And
look, money corrupts everywhere. Okay, I call it crazy if she said that there were no lobby groups in Britain, or that corruption doesn't exist in Britain. Corruption exists everywhere. It's probably just more so in the United States, is what she's saying. And she's, again, like I said, she's not wrong. Okay, she's not completely right, but she's not completely wrong either.
That's the thing, isn't it? The real truth is that money corrupts, or at least it gives a gateway to easier corruption. A lot of good can be done with a lot of money, there's no doubt about that, but a society that worships money is much more easily swayed by corruption than one that values it less when it comes to what it says about a person. Because I'm not saying British people don't also want and need money. We all want and need money to pay the bills, to buy the things we need, and to buy the things that we want. That's no different anywhere, but in the UK, there isn't as strong of a cultural attitude that having more money means you're a good or better person.
Okay, again, like I said, I don't know that anybody in the United States at least I don't know anybody who thinks that you're a good or better person if you have a lot of more money. Okay, if you have a lot more money, great, fantastic. But I don't think anybody in America equates that. But again, like I said, I don't know who she knows. I don't know who she's talked to. Again, I don't think people in the United States think that way. I haven't heard anybody talk like that. But again, like I said, I could be wrong. Okay, but will American greed be its downfall? It may very well be. Okay, again, I don't know, but like I said, I don't completely agree with her. I don't completely disagree with her. But hey, please thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Please click like, share, and subscribe for Girl Gone London, as well as for me. I would greatly appreciate it. I really would. You have a good rest of your day, and thanks for watching.